Good evening, everyone. We'll give folks a couple minutes to join us and then we will get started. All right. I know we may have a few additional folks join us, but we will go ahead and get started for the evening. So welcome again to what I don't never know the number, maybe our sixth Tiger Talk of the summer. My name is Casey Ford, and I serve as our interim director for student transitions in the Center for Student Leadership and Engagement. So this Tiger Talk, along with the others that we offer this summer, is included in our parent and family experience of orientation. And so we know that some of you may have been able to join us or may have planned to join us for our in-person Ready, Set, Roar experience and engage with some of the guest programming that we have there. You may know that you have access to the virtual orientation content that your student has had access to over the course of the orientation process, and certainly hope that you all are able to take advantage of those resources. And we know that you may have some specific questions about some specific topics that we're not necessarily able to address in either of those environments, depending on what that conversation looks like. And so we offer what we call our Tiger Talk webinar series throughout the summer to address those specific topics. So we've got folks from around campus, other staff members, student leaders who engage with our programs and have much to share in terms of their perspective. And so they are here to join us and talk a little bit about that experience. And so tonight's is all about preparing for Family Weekend. If you have been to a Ready, Set, Roar session so far, you have heard me say this, but we have an annual Family Weekend coming up this fall for you. That's a great time for you and your students to enjoy campus together. And so as we approach that registration date, which we'll talk about more in a bit, thought that it would be helpful to include some dedicated time to talking through what you can expect that weekend, what you can expect from the registration process, and then just give you some time to get your questions answered before we are in the fall semester. So that's our plan. In just a minute, I will transition to our panelists who have joined us tonight. Let them introduce themselves, tell you kind of what their connection is to family programs here at Clemson. I'll go through our presentation content, provide an overview of, again, what to expect from that weekend, and then have some time for questions and answers before we wrap up. A few quick housekeeping things before we do that. You all are likely more familiar with the Zoom environment than you ever wish to be, but just a couple of reminders on that front. This is a Zoom webinar, so a little bit different from a regular Zoom meeting. You will see, or you should see, hopefully, only our faces on the screen, shouldn't see the others who are here participating. And then you'll also notice that the audio and video has been muted. Both of those things are intentional just to make sure that we're able to kind of get through our content and that panelists have kind of the ability to focus on what we've got to share with you all this evening. There is a couple other notes that I would draw your attention to. You'll notice on your toolbar, perhaps at the top or the bottom of your screen, you'll see a question and answer button. We would ask that you use that tool to submit any questions as we're going through our content. We're not able to call on folks using that raise hand tools, nor are we really able to answer things directly in the chat. That chat is what we're going to use more for sharing links, sharing resources that kind of accompany some of what we're saying tonight. So if you would help us out, help us make sure that we can get those questions answered as quickly and as effectively as possible by using that question and answer button on your toolbar. And then the last piece, you'll probably see a little message at the top of your screen letting you know that this meeting is being recorded. So if you have a question later on and can't remember what the answer was, or want to reference this a little bit closer to the registration date or Fall Family Weekend itself, want you to know that this will be recorded. What we do is we upload that onto our YouTube page, which we'll be sure to share in the chat. So it'll land on the Clemson Family Programs YouTube page in a couple days. And then in the next week, we will get that sent out through the Clemson Parent and Family Experience portal. All right, panelist introduction. So as I shared, my name is Casey Ford. I serve as the Interim Director of Student Transitions and the Center, and I will pass it to Jordan.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jordan Worrell. I serve as the Assistant Director for Student Transitions in the Center for Student Leadership and Engagement. So a little bit about my role. I work under Casey Ford as an Assistant Director, and my main area is our Weeks of Welcome program here at Clemson, and then also helping out with parent and family programs.
Perfect. So, hi everyone. My name is Samantha Watts. I'm a senior early childhood education major. I served last year as an orientation ambassador. I loved it, came back for a second year, and I'm a team leader this year. And I work very closely with Casey and with our families here at Clemson to really work with our guest experience.
Hi, I'm Zuri Miller. I'm a junior business management major. Last summer, I was an orientation ambassador, and then I decided to come on as a transition assistant this past school year, and will be one again this upcoming school year. And I work more so with Casey and Jordan throughout the year.
Awesome. Few quick notes kind of for mine on our panelists. Jordan mentioned that her main role is connected to our Welcome Week and Weeks of Welcome programming. A quick plug that Jordan will be joining us on a future webinar to talk specifically about that. I believe it's August 1st off the top of my head. We will confirm that date for you before the end of tonight. But if you have questions about that programming or are curious about what that schedule will include, be sure to join us for that. Sam and Zuri are, again, a couple of our star student leaders, I would say, and have had a lot of experience working with families specifically. Sam in her team leader role is helps coordinate, I would say, our guest track experience. That's a part of our orientation experience. So again, if you have been to a session, you have very likely heard her words of wisdom on that parent panel and have been led to all the right places by her. And then as Zuri mentioned, she serves in our transition assistant role, which is really our frontline customer service role in our office. So if you have ever emailed the CU Families account or called our office number to get a question answered, you have very likely interacted with both of those folks. All of our panelists have had a role or have helped support our family weekend as well. So wanted to ensure that you were able to hear from some staff and student leader perspectives tonight. All right, so jumping into our content here, my hope is that you have seen this graphic before and that you've received the email again from our Clemson Parent and Family Experience portal. We sent this out a couple months back, but just want to make sure you have this date on your calendar. So Family Weekend this year, September 19th through the 21st of this fall. For folks who may not know, this is a game day designation here at Clemson, so super exciting time to be on campus. That's officially the Fall Family Weekend football game that takes place on that Saturday. And then we've got some programming that happens Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to accompany that experience for you that weekend. So I will offer the disclaimer that certainly we are still nailing down some details of what that schedule is going to look like, and we'll be able to offer you a much more specific schedule overview that you'll be able to interact with. But yes, by the time we open registration, but certainly by the time you arrive on campus for Family Weekend. That said, we do have some core events, some signature events that don't change much from year to year. And so particularly if this is your first time attending Family Weekend or attending a game day in Clemson, and wanted to make sure that you at least got a feel for what you can expect. So Friday, the longest block of time there is our check-in. So we'll talk more about our packages in a bit, but essentially once you purchase a package and decide to come to Family Weekend, we ask that you first check in to make sure that you're able to pick up what we call our event credentials. It's a little badge with the little Family Weekend logo on it that has some information about the events that you've registered for on the back. That's going to kind of serve as your ticket into whichever events you've selected to attend that weekend, and then also pick up your Family Weekend t-shirt. So that is the primary purpose of check-in. We've done that from 1 to 4. We've done that from 2 to 5. We basically want to give folks as much time as we can that afternoon as you're arriving in town to come by and check in with us first. Those of you who may be interested in a campus tour, we offer that Friday afternoon, typically right towards the end of check-in, so around 4 o'clock. And that usually gathers at the Hendricks Student Center. And so if that's something that you've not had a chance to experience yet or something that you would enjoy, we'd certainly recommend that. The other piece I would highlight about that afternoon time, typically between 3 and 5 p.m., is our academic college time. So you may have experienced something like this before. Maybe your student's college held an open house event. Maybe you have been able to attend college time during the Ready, Set, Roar experience. This is similar. Basically, every academic college commits to hosting some sort of open house or social or exhibition of sorts on that afternoon. Some examples include, I know the College of Science typically does snow cones. They offer several rounds of a very popular planetarium show. Our College of Agriculture, Forestry, and Life Sciences always does an ice cream social over at 55 Exchange. So it just depends. Some spaces will do an open house and a tour. Typically, colleges are looking to highlight some resource or offering that is salient to them, but also to give you a chance to engage with them as families. So in the same way that we want you to come and kind of see what your students are calling home, see where they're hanging out, see what their favorite places are on campus. We want you to know that they've been working really hard academically and want you to have a chance to see that for yourself. So that will happen Friday afternoon. We host a cornhole tournament shortly after that. That will be a part of the registration process and is a little limited in capacity. So if you are trying to be the cornhole champions this year, definitely keep that on your radar. We've offered a Palmetto State reception in the past, particularly for our out-of-state families, a family trivia night, a family craft night that typically follows trivia out in our barn center. And then we've got some sporting events there as well, which we'll talk about more in detail in just a moment. So on Saturday, our kind of big event, and I would say the big event of the weekend, is our Tiger Family Tailgate that takes place in South Green. Again, all details that we will share leading up to that time, and usually happens about 4 hours prior to kickoff. So we have a couple huge tents out there. We have music. We provide food for that period of time. We bring out the cornhole sets and other games, really just aimed at providing a family-friendly tailgate atmosphere and a good place to kind of treat as your home base in the middle of that day before heading into the stadium for the game. Sunday, we have our family farewell brunch that takes place back on that same spot. So same place that tailgate would have been, and is sort of the conclusion to our weekend. And again, just another opportunity to share a meal with your student before heading home. All right, so we've got a couple tools, couple platforms. I know you all are likely tired a little bit of hearing how many apps and portals and systems we think that you and your students should use. Hopefully the next couple that I'll share are tools that you will have used already or will continue to use throughout your experience. So the first one I would offer is the CU Events app. If you or your student has experienced or has been to campus for a Ready, Set, Roar session, you already know what this is. This is also the app that they will use to navigate their welcome week and weeks of welcome experience. So this is essentially Clemson's branded version of the guidebook app. This is where we upload all schedule details. We're able to include resources like a campus map, a family calendar. We're able to sort events into different tracks so you know which events are part of which package, what dates and locations you can expect. Anything really relevant to navigating family weekend. The weekend of the time that you are here with us on campus is going to be found in the CU Events app. So we will link the download to this app as well as the link to the web page version of that CU Events or guidebook schedule when we open registration, but just wanted you to see this so that you know as you get closer to time that that is going to be what you'll use for all those schedule details. The second piece, and this is where you would actually register, is again the Clemson Parent and Family Experience portal. My hope is that you've also seen this before. This is our primary hub for all family communication. And so any sort of campus updates that impact your student, Clemson University news, or events such as Family Weekend that are coming up, that all goes through the portal first. You've likely received emails from that system so far. And so I'm hoping that you are familiar with that system, but also want to share that that is where we will actually host registration for Fall Family Weekend. Specifically, wanted to offer just a glance at what that looks like. So wanted to just show you a couple examples, a couple of screenshots here from last year's page. So when we open registration, and we'll send out these details a couple days before registration actually opens, this is the page that you'll be brought to, kind of a standard registration form. It is important to note, and I know it was on the last slide and I think it pops up again, that you do need to include your student in registration if they're planning to attend any of these events with you. So know that may be a question or a point of confusion in the past, but did want to make it clear that they also needed to be included in your registration and in your purchase. So pretty standard registration form. You'll put in your information. There is a place to put your student's academic college, our partners in colleges who are planning those college events that I talked about on Friday evening. Really like to know, who they can expect, how many families they can expect from each college as they're working to program. And so would ask that you include that. And then of course, any dietary restrictions. And the rest is really just you choosing your package. So we're going to talk about what's included. We have 2 packages offered as a part of Clemson's Family Weekend. But the rest of that form is really you selecting as many of each of those as you'd like. Both of those packages come with a Family Weekend t-shirt. Again, this is last year's form, so disregard the sold out signs and the kind of graphics for the shirt specifically there, but just wanted you to have some sense of what that would look like. We will have a couple add-ons this year. So the cornhole tournament is an add-on that anyone of any package can add on. Another experience that I'll talk about in a bit is connected to the men's soccer game. So you may see a few kind of differences in terms of what this looks like and what this year's form is, but this is essentially what you can expect from the bottom half of that registration form. Okay, so you saw kind of briefly there what those packages looked like. We offer 2 ticket packages as a part of Family Weekend. The first one, in true Clemson fashion, is called the All-In, and that's $70. In short, this includes everything. This includes the college events, the campus tour, we offer a Woodland Cemetery tour. This includes family trivia, the family craft night, any of those experiences on Friday, as well as the Tiger Family Tailgate on Saturday and that brunch on Sunday. That will also include the t-shirt that comes with both packages. So this is the all-in package, typically going to get you an orange event badge and lanyard. The other one is our general admission. That essentially is everything except for that Tiger Family Tailgate and Family Farewell Brunch. So everything I mentioned in terms of the Friday evening events, the trivia, a lot of what we do programming wise over in the Barn Center, but not our events that come with that, that come with those meals, essentially is the difference there. So that general admission package would include admission to those events as well as that t-shirt that I mentioned. So if you are planning to come to campus, but you know that your student is actually not that interested in the football game, or maybe you have other tailgate plans, or that day is kind of spoken for in your mind, but you're still hoping to come to some of the other events, grab that t-shirt, be a part of Family Weekend. This is certainly what we would recommend for you. And if you're thinking, this is my first Family Weekend, I'm here to do everything that is offered, then we would recommend the all-in. A few other kind of notes that are, I would say, pertinent to that weekend schedule is that there are always several athletic events taking place. So of course the football game this year, which will take place that Saturday, but there are also a few other options for you. So there's a men's soccer game at home that evening, and then women's volleyball Friday as well. A couple notes here, that those tickets must be purchased separately. So while we offer out of the Center for Student Leadership and Engagement programming for Family Weekend, and that's kind of the experience that we are selling, that does not include any of the athletic tickets. So we will be sure to share a link in the chat. There's a block of Family Weekend football tickets that have been on sale for about a month now, maybe a little bit longer, that you are welcome to purchase from. You are also welcome to not use that block. You're welcome to go on Ticketmaster like you would for any other game, any other method for purchasing football tickets as well. But just want to make sure we're super clear that tickets to that game, as well as any other sporting event, must be purchased separately. The other piece I would note specifically about the soccer game that I think will be a fun addition to this year's schedule is we are working with our folks in marketing and fan experience over in athletics to add some family fun elements, if you will, to that game. So not quite sure exactly what that's going to look like just yet. Hoping to be able to provide a little bit of a tailgate experience before that game, offer some relay race competition opportunities at halftime, and then raffle off some really cool experiences. So we've done or they've done the opportunity to take photos at the Rock in Memorial Stadium before, or to watch what's called our fourth quarter video down on the field. Some really cool game day experiences that will come from that. And so certainly more details coming on that soon, but wanted to share that we've got some great options for you in terms of Clemson athletics that weekend. Okay. I'm gonna do my best to address some questions that we get most often about Fall Family Weekend, and then we will open the floor for any other questions that you all may have or that have come up in the time that I've been talking. So parking and transportation is certainly always a big question when it comes to Fall Family Weekend. If you are, again, a new family, a new to Clemson family, I just would share that game day is a world of its own. This weekend or any weekend of any home game, it is it consumes campus, is what I would say. And so on the Friday and the Sunday of Fall Family Weekend, we will have designated parking for you. So we will work with our colleagues in parking and transportation to set up specific lots across campus. Not set up, we're not creating parking lots. We will designate a couple of lots across campus where you'll be able to park, regardless of the type of spot or payment or any of those things. We will make sure that you have a place to park that is in a good distance from events happening on that Friday and Sunday. Saturday, however, is what we call game day parking. So that is your typical whatever sort of the standard is for Clemson game day parking on a Saturday. So we as an office, in addition to any other office on campus, we're not able to provide anything specific. So a few options there, and I may look to my game day friends here to offer their perspective, but parking and transportation will offer a weekend pass for visitors, which may be a good option if you're planning to spend all 3 days with us on campus. IPTE, maybe we can share some links around IPTE and those spots in the chat as well, Riley. But IPTE, which is our athletic booster organization, offers ways to purchase tailgating parking spots specifically through their office. And then certainly downtown Clemson would be a good option as well. So some spots just basically on campus, right across the street downtown, either parallel spots near businesses there or in the parking garage. But just want to be super clear that unfortunately we're not able to provide any specific parking on that Saturday. Lodging and accommodation. So if this is a weekend that you are planning to join us for campus, would just say that now would certainly be the time to start thinking through what those accommodations are. Local hotels certainly fill up again for this weekend or any game day weekend. And so we sent out in that save the date a couple months back links to some nearby towns. So there's certainly the town of Clemson, but also Easley, Pendleton, Anderson, Greenville, some surrounding areas that have some good options that are still close to campus. So I think Riley will be able to share those links in the chat as well, if that is something that you are considering. And then we have some families who would recommend a local Airbnb, something on the lake, anything that is kind of within that area. We would certainly recommend, but more than that, would recommend that you all spend some time thinking through that now as places certainly fill up. So game day accessibility, want to touch on that just briefly here. One piece of that is that Clemson Athletics always has a game day accessibility plan. And so as we get closer to that time, we will share out, they provide a whole game day accessibility sort of guidebook, if you will, and we will certainly share those details. If you are someone who has an ADA tag, the process is that you will park in, and are planning to go to the game, I should say, the process is that you would park in the Sykes Hall parking lot on Saturday, and then athletics provides a shuttle over to the stadium for you. In terms of what we can offer, if you are someone who would need that accommodation and plan to come to that tailgate on Saturday, or the brunch on Sunday, we are a little limited in what we can offer just based on where our staff is going to be working those days, but we are able to offer a little golf cart shuttle service, if you will. So we have a way for you to contact us, text a number, say that that's something that you will be in need of closer to that time. But beyond that, we will share athletics game day accessibility guidebook so that you kind of have a plan for that weekend. In terms of our venues, our spaces where these events are held, what I shared in terms of the location for Saturday's tailgate and Sunday's brunch is, pretty easy to navigate, I would say, in terms of the terrain. It's in a grass field, but it's like squarely in the middle of 4 other buildings on campus. The main challenge there would be getting to that space again from any game day parking on Saturday. In terms of the other locations, we do a lot of programming Friday at the Hendrick Student Center, again, and then the Barn Center, which are both easily accessible from nearby parking lots, which would include those ADA spots. So if you have more questions about that, or kind of want to talk through maybe what needs exist in your family and, kind of what we can offer in terms of navigating campus, certainly happy to chat on the phone or through email. And then finally, I mentioned this before, but you should purchase a ticket for your student if they are planning to attend any of our family weekend events. I'm going to pause and look at any questions that we've got. Panelists, students who have been present at Family Weekend, who remember maybe questions that we've gotten, any other Family Weekend or game day kind of tips or need to knows that you all would offer. Okay. Look at our chat real quick. Sam, do you mind answering that football ticket question out loud for us?
The one about this, like if the student can get it through the lottery or if they need to purchase. Perfect. So there's always a chance that your student can get a ticket through the lottery, but if you're wanting to sit with your student for the game, we definitely recommend you buying them a ticket when you buy your tickets. Since the lottery is just for student section only, the families wouldn't be able to sit there. So again, if you want to sit with your student, for sure, buy their ticket when you buy yours.
Perfect. I see a question about registering on Saturday, not able to come Friday. It's a good question there. So we do offer an extended check-in on Saturday as well. So I should have mentioned this in the explanation of the registration. That registration period, again, that will open on July 16th. That will close two weeks prior to Family Weekend. So definitely want to make sure that's something that you all are able to do really before mid-September. As far as the check-in, though, we certainly understand that for many folks, especially depending on where you're coming from, arriving on Friday will not be feasible. So we will have another check-in opportunity. We usually open that check-in about an hour before we start that tailgate. So again, that tailgate time just is completely dependent on kickoff. So as soon as we know that, we'll be able to share more specifically when you can expect to do that. But yes, you can certainly come straight to South Green, which is where we hold that tailgate, and pick up your materials on Saturday. A couple questions about kind of outside of immediate family joining and coming along. That is totally fine. So they are welcome to purchase family weekend tickets on their own. I will say the only way to do that is through that Clemson Parent and Family Experience portal. So it may be easier if you are the Clemson parent and you kind of have that account already for you to purchase those all in one. They certainly, again, are able to do that on their own. It just would mean that they, make an account to be connected to that portal. And if they're interested as a Clemson family member about news and updates and things that are, relevant to the Clemson student in your family, then they're certainly welcome to do that. Question about registration. What time? Good question. 9 o'clock in the morning Eastern time is when we will open that registration. So there will be a registration page again on that portal, and it'll be set up to go live at 9 o'clock Eastern. Good question. So other than the save the date, other than the announcement that has gone out already with some of those basic links to our website and to the local accommodations, you would not see anything about the weekend on the portal just yet. Again, as we get closer to that registration date, we'll have that page published, and then we'll also have, I mentioned the CU Events app, which is our version of Guidebook. Guidebook has kind of a desktop view, so that will have a preliminary schedule that you'll be able to go scroll through and see kind of the details and dates and locations. So you're not missing anything for sure, or you're not missing anything at this point, but in the next couple of weeks, you'll be able to see both of those online. Couple questions about accessibility parking. So if you have that handicap decal, like you mentioned, that's all you'll need to park in that psych slot on game day. So you won't need to buy something specific, as long as you're able to show that placard, then you're able to park there. All right, a couple questions about whether or not the packages sell out. I would say that they have before, but I would say that it's rare. So we intentionally hold that tailgate over the course of several hours at a time, knowing that while some folks may come towards the beginning of that event and kind of camp out and make that their home base for the day, a lot of others are going to come for some time, have the meal, enjoy their time together, and then kind of move on to other places around campus, or other parts of their day. So for that reason, we are able to accommodate a lot of people during the weekend. I use tailgate as the example because that's typically when we see our largest group of people. So in the last, I would say 3 years, again, over time, over the course of those several hours, we probably see between 3,000 and 4,000 families join us. But again, that's over such an extended time that for the most part, we're able to offer as many of those packages as we can. So a couple questions about the portal. I think that's likely a link that has been shared in the chat, but Riley, if you don't mind, there you go. If you don't mind sharing that one more time, we'll make sure that you are able to see that. I saw a couple questions about Greenville. We unfortunately are not able to offer any specific family weekend transportation from Greenville. All of our shuttle buses that we typically use for that purpose are completely devoted to game day transportation on that Saturday. So unfortunately, we're not able to provide that. There is typically one route that travels from Greenville to campus. Riley, if we can share the CUI car bus route link, that would be helpful. That may be an option for you, and then some other public transportation as well. But unfortunately, not able to provide any family weekend transit for that route. Yes, question about the menu at the events that come with food, particularly that brunch. When we open that registration, we include that question about any dietary restrictions, and I compile all of those once registration closes, and share those with our dining team. And so, yes, as long as that's something that you articulate in your registration, we will make sure that we have options. So definitely we'll have vegan options, always do, are able to accommodate folks who maybe need to be gluten-free or have any other needs that they articulate on that form. Yep, I see Zuri answering this one, but I'll go ahead and just offer out loud if anyone else is kind of thinking through the same question. Got a question that asked if Friday classes are still in session that weekend. They are. And so any family weekend events that are sort of sort of the kickoff to the weekend start later that evening. But typical weekday classes will still happen that day as well. Can you purchase walk-up tickets for soccer and volleyball? Zuri, do you mind taking that one out loud for us? I think that might be in some other folks' minds as well.
So usually soccer and volleyball, like it's a kind of a demand thing. It depends on the game or like who we're playing or whatever. So if we're playing like a really good soccer team or a really good volleyball team, they could typically sell out, but most of the time you can just get tickets on demand that day of.
Perfect. I think I saw a couple of questions back asking about some of the on-site registration for family weekend packages. As I mentioned, for the most part, we don't have a ton of concern about selling out. We're usually able to accommodate folks up until registration closes. What I will say is because each package comes with a family weekend t-shirt, and because we ask you to make that selection and choose your size as you're going through that process, we're not able to guarantee that piece of it for any on-site purchases. So if you maybe in the time that registration is open aren't sure about a couple of folks who may join you and your family, and then they're able to come last minute, and you're hoping to purchase a ticket package, either the all-in or general admission on site, we will very likely be able to do that. We just may not be able to guarantee you a specific t-shirt size, since we will have had to finish up that order prior to that date. Again, that may change depending on what our numbers look like by the time that we close that registration. In the same way where we are asked to kind of wrap up that t-shirt process, we of course have to turn in our catering numbers and make sure that our spaces are good on that front. So I don't want to make any promises I can't keep on that front. But we the last couple of years have been able to offer some additional all-in ticket packages on site. All right. I'm going to give folks a couple minutes here to think of any final questions. And while y'all are thinking, I'll wrap up with a few announcements. Okay, I know you've heard about this portal more times than you wanted to this evening, but just one more reminder that all of this information, certainly about Family Weekend, but also any pertinent information that we want you to know as Clemson family members, that is going to be found on our Clemson Parent and Family Experience portal. If you click the chat button on your toolbar, Riley has shared the link a couple times in that chat feature. So if this is the first time you're hearing about it, would certainly recommend that you go ahead and make an account. Again, that will be kind of what you're prompted to do first before you're able to complete the registration process for Family Weekend. And so would save you a step if you want to go ahead and do that now. The recording of this webinar again will be sent out through that portal, but can also be found on the Clemson Family Programs YouTube page. We've got a playlist for all of our Tiger Talk webinars this summer. So if you go to Tiger Talks 2025, you'll see all the ones that we have been able to host so far. Looks like we've got our panelists answering the last couple of questions here. I did see one question about kind of the weather in September. I know folks are joining us from out of state. I would say it can be unpredictable, but it will be warm. I would be very surprised if we were far enough into the fall. Clemson has a beautiful fall, but we're typically not there in mid to late September. And so I would definitely prepare for some heat. Certainly not what we're experiencing right now, but definitely still some heat for sure. We always like to recommend an umbrella, a rain jacket. The rain can be a little unpredictable here in Clemson, and Family Weekend is a rain or shine event. So we will have coverings. We're not going to ask you to stand out in the rain and enjoy your tailgate, but always a good idea to have that in mind. Okay, a couple last reminders. I mentioned the recording that will be sent out here in the next week. If you have questions about this or about anything else, always welcome to email us at cufamilies@clemson.edu. And then again, this is one of many Tiger Talk webinars that we have offered and will offer this summer. The next one is about financial aid and student billing specifically. That's on Wednesday, July 16th, the same day that we open Family Weekend registration. So if you have questions specifically about your student's bill, payment options, scholarships, or loans, would recommend that one. And then would also recommend any of the final sessions in our series. So I mentioned that it's August 5th, not August 2nd. I mentioned that Jordan, who introduced herself at the beginning, manages our Welcome Week and Weeks of Welcome programming. So she will share all about that on that Next Steps for Success webinar. We've got the financial aid one that I mentioned, a transfer student success at Clemson session. So if you are a family member of a transfer student specifically, you're welcome to join us for that to talk through what resources may work best for your student specifically. And then our final one that I'll mention is our family to family panel. So one piece that I didn't say earlier in the presentation is that we have a group of current Clemson parents, current Clemson family members who serve on a volunteer board called the Clemson Family Ambassador Board, and they volunteer at events like these. So they are present at our Ready, Set, Roar orientation sessions. You'll see them around at Move-In, and then they volunteer at some of our Family Weekend events. And so that family to family panel is an opportunity for a handful of them to join us in the same way that our student leaders did tonight and share their perspective as current Clemson families. So would certainly recommend that session as well. All right, I'm doing my last checks, but I think we are good. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. Keep an eye out for this recording, and we will see you at Family Weekend, if not before. Go Tigers! Good night, everyone.